back, looters, and I'm going to show you the most common NES problem, the blinking red light, or cartridges just won't read. If you guys get an NES, you're almost always going to have to put in new pins. They come in a box kind of like this, and this is a very easy setup. All you need are small screwdrivers. I like to have a cartridge, which I'll show you later, for testing and for closing up the system. Everything else is extra. A little place to put your screws. I like one of the magnetic ones. A little aerosol, like air sprayer can, because it gets dust out. Isopropyl alcohol is definitely, I feel like, a necessity, but you can go without. And if you're really into this, Brasso, which I will show you where you can use that. And Q-tips. So this is a really easy fix that most beginners can do, so we're going to take a look. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is you are going to want to open up the 6 screws shown here. I'm going to make it big for you. Now you guys are going to be using really old plastic, and this uses the small Phillips head screwdriver, so be very, very careful. I've opened up a number of these things, and the plastic sometimes just cracks, or it's even like shot through, and it really doesn't work. Just for sanity, and you guys can already see I'm speeding up the video, and I'll be doing that a number of times because I don't need me a screw. Slowly kind of shake the system up and down, and like I said, take your time. If you force it, you're more likely to break it. Keep in mind this is over 30 years old. Now this was my system growing up, so it's been in really good shape and is actually really clean. A lot of times when you open these up, they're going to be filled with dust. Next thing you do is to get rid of the protective tray, which I believe is a heat sink, but I could be wrong. There's a number of screws here. I'm going to highlight them on the screen. I don't remember off the top of my head. And again, a small Phillips screwdriver will help you out there, no problems. So just like before, I'm going to speed up the video in a second just so you guys don't have to watch me. And just like before, just take your time. I mean, there's no rushing doing this. I've done this actually in a number of systems, about 10 of them. I've also done it for friends who've needed it, and you can buy these pins on eBay, Amazon. They range anywhere from $5 to $8. So you're going to want to also keep your screws separate because they are slightly different at times, especially with this next part. So now what we need to do is we need to take off the tray, and there are 6 screws with that spring-loaded tray. Now the middle 2, which I'm going to show you, are actually longer. So you want to make sure you put those off to the side, and remember that goes in the middle. So right now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be unscrewing these just so you guys can see. Again, slow and steady wins the race. And as you can see, I'm organizing and making sure it's all good. And like I said, the more clean and organized you are with this stuff, the easier putting together comes back in. And I'm going to be flipping something. Like I said, just it's old stuff, so you just have to be careful. This is such an easy fix. I'm surprised more people don't do it. Now, when we get later in the video, I'll talk about some of the differences when you do put in new pins. So now that I got that unscrewed, for the most part, there's one stubborn one there, which you will experience that at times. Sometimes it unscrews but doesn't come out of where you're like screwing it. But I'm gonna just, come on. All right. So next thing I'm gonna show you guys is after I cut forward. So there are 2 screws to take off here. This holds the motherboard onto the plastic system. And the same sort of thing kind of happens. Just use your small Phillips head screwdriver and get those out. Now, you can take this board out fully when you get this, but you have to remove the plugs for like the controller ports, the LED light and stuff. I'm not going to even bother doing that. You can work around this, and which I'll show you in a second. And okay, now that slides right off that spring tray. Notice how it springs down, and there's a reason why I'm showing you guys that. Now that big black thing right there, those are the pins. You're going to slide it off, kind of pull it away from the tray. Now it is on there very snugly, so I'd work each side slowly, try to get yourself a little grip, and slowly pull it off. Alright, you have to put some force. Now make sure you put this off to the side, because I have before wondered, like, oh shoot, are these my new ones or old ones? So the next thing, as you can see, I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the contacts on both sides. and I'm going to leave it plugged in because I don't really feel like taking it off. Now, the reason why I'm showing you the bottom is there's little metal prongs that go in there when you're putting it back together, and that's probably one of the hardest things about this fix, is trying to get the thing back together. So, I'm going to use the compressed air, and I'm going to kind of shoot it underneath there, just to get all that dust, dirt, and grime out of there. There's not much in this one, but like I said, sometimes you're going to be shooting out wads of dust. Now I'm going to be using the Brasso on the pins. You're going to be doing this on both sides. This is an optional step. You don't want to use much. This is actually going to clean the contacts, and if you looked, I dripped on the board, so I'm definitely going to want to get that off. I like to go just a quick line vertically, okay? And then what I do is I kind of just start following the pins. And as you notice while I'm doing this, that Q-tip is going to get very, very dark. A lot of dirt and grime and stuff is coming off. See that? Yeah. And this is a slow, sort of tedious process. Just keep scrubbing, scrubbing, scrubbing. And like I said, you're definitely going to want to do that to both sides. I'm going to use another Q-tip here. The same sort of trick, by the way, works when you're cleaning cartridges. You know, when you're using your isopropic, those 1-up cards, you can easily kind of leave it together. But when you're using Brasso, I highly recommend getting yourself some security bits and really opening up those cartridges. Now, Brasso dries with like a white powdery sort of thing, so you're definitely going to want to get it all off. That's where I'm going to use the isopropic alcohol. This is also great for a quick clean on cartridges. It's not as rough. Again, I've said this in other videos, you want to use stuff that's above 90% because of rust, and I'm going to do the same sort of process going with the pins. As you can see, I've got the board kind of flipped up, and I'm finishing up underneath it. Same process as at the top, and I kind of prop it out. If you want to fully take it out, you're going to have to unplug all those clips for all the different power things. They do come out, but with old systems, I'm always just worried about it breaking. You know, I try to avoid as much as can. Slowly slide it together and make sure it goes in that bottom panel part. Make sure you put your AV cable, like the, you know, the composite cable slots in, and just kind of watch your cords, make sure nothing's tangled, everything's snug, it should be in. There are slots that it falls right in. I'm just kind of giving it another quick wipe down, and it's filthy. Alright, I'm going to open up, I'm going to open up the plastic right now and just kind of show you how the new pins come. There's different companies that make them and stuff, they're all pretty much the same. The biggest thing you're going to notice is when you put cartridges in, it's going to feel super tight. It's shaped exactly like the other ones on, and you're going to slide it on. You do have to use a little force, and just like before, kind of angle it and slowly go back and forth. You have to pull it away from that metal sort of tray, and then you got to keep kind of wiggling it back together. It's very easy, it just takes some time. Apologize for the big bandage on my arm, I have a really nasty cut. There we go, slides on snugly, easy peasy. Can't believe I just said easy peasy. Now, the next thing you're going to do is slide the tray on. The back screws kind of go over the new sort of screws, and then the front slides on. You're going to might have to pop the board out a little bit, and again, this is just kind of wiggle and see. And as you notice, I'm wiggling and wiggling and fiddling and whatever. Guys, this is so easy. Anyone can honestly do this. If you're kind of worried about, you know, working on electronics, this is probably one of the easiest fixes. So if you notice, I'm kind of putting that metal tray at the bottom and then just trying to line it up in the slot, line it up in all the holes. Okay. Now here's my little trick. What I like to do is I like to slide a cartridge in. I have put these things back together, and you know, and I click it down, and for whatever reason, because of over tightening or under tightening or not making it even, cartridges don't go in, or the thing doesn't want to like clip down and stay down. And I noticed when I put a cartridge in there, this process has helped out a lot. Now, there's no right or wrong way to do this. I kind of like to go corner to corner with screws, slowly add in my middle screws at some point. Oh, but first I gotta screw the motherboard down. So put those 2 screws back in. I'm getting ahead of myself. And then, just like I said, see, you can do the middles. I sometimes get them started, as you can see there. And I definitely like to go corner to corner. You're working with old stuff, so. And just slowly go around and keep tightening, you know, when it doesn't want to necessarily go. Now, if you notice, it's really hard to pull out. Just checking, making sure it clicks. Alright, stop here, and this is what I would do. I would actually plug in your console and make sure it fires up. Make sure you use an already clean cartridge. Mega Man 2 is what I always use. It works. You want to be careful with your hands so you don't get a static shock or anything, and just fire it up pretty quick. Make sure now it's time to put all those screws on and put that front cover on. Again, this is a super easy process. And you could always go back and tighten, just get your screws started and slowly tighten. Again, this should go together pretty easily if you don't have it lined up. Sometimes you might want to push on edges just to kind of tighten it and get your screw holes to line up. A little bit of pressure. As you can see, I'm kind of like with my finger right there. Just because you do not need to actually fight this. It should go together pretty smoothly. See, I didn't like how that one was going, so I pulled it. And I'm going to put it back in right here. Putting a little bit of firm pressure just on that metal tray. We're good. Now this should go together pretty smoothly. And I'm going to put in those 6 screws. Now I like to do the 4 corners first. One of the common problems with the NES is that because the things could be bad, or like just the plastic, is when you start to pull away at the corners, you can separate the 2 shells, and you want to make it snug. You do not want to over tighten this thing. You will crack this old plastic. I've had a couple that I've gotten from garage sales before where like the plastic was so beat, even when I got it, or it was yanked on, that the plastic screw hole broke, so it's just a screw in the bottom, but doesn't connect to anything. I've also had them in there where they've basically been stripped too because they've just been, abused. Again, get it nice and snug. I would, like I said, pull against your corners. Alright, I'm going to put a cartridge in just to show you guys. Check it, make sure you're all good there, and we're going to test it out. Here's my very clean copy of Mega Man 2. Solid game, by the way. And there's my reflection in the TV with my Yurko jersey. Oh, alright. Launches right up. Now, you're going to notice here the screen's going to do something wonky in a second after I press start. That's not me, it's just the video camera right there. By the way, this is a great game. I'm going to launch it up real quick. Again, my screen actually isn't doing that. That's just the camera. God, I could listen to this soundtrack all day. You could test it with a couple games, but again, if one clean game works, the whole thing works. And like I said, it's gonna be really snug in the system. I hope this guy's helped you out. If you have any other suggestions or questions or comments, please leave a comment in the comment section. Die Bunny. Remember, one man's trash is another man's loot. Geez, I think I'm gonna keep playing some Mega Man 2. Anyways, have a great day, everyone.